Press record, and we will get going. There's something beeping and blipping. Let me just turn Facebook and everything like that off so I don't get interrupted. So, hello folks, hopefully we're all doing well. Welcome to this first education session, which has as we looked at, the incredibly sexy title of How to Use Guide Tracks to Learn Our Song. I thought I'd be obvious with the titling rather than give it a fancy name, just say it like it is. And we'll basically kind of get straight into it. I'm going to do share my screen and just kind of take you through. And again, this is a lot of personal opinion. By the way, I'm Simon. I'm the founder of the collective. Hello, hello, hello. The guide tracks obviously are created by me, so it's me singing. And we'll just go through and I'll give you some hints and tips on how I think it's the best way to use guide tracks. You do not have to agree with me. Okay, you do not have to agree with me. If you try this kind of method of doing things, and some of these things to you might seem counterintuitive. They may well feel like it's a waste. Some things are a waste of time. This is not just based on my thoughts. It's based upon conversations I've had, discussions I've had, and my own experience. And that's as a music reader. I'm a confident music reader. And actually, if I learn a song, I barely look at the score at all, if at all. I will go always on tracks. And again, I find that it's different. It's not necessarily quicker, but once it's in there, it sticks. So I'm going to get straight into the PowerPoint presentation. I think it's always important as a teacher to use a PowerPoint presentation. Can you all see that presentation on the screen? Excellent, perfect. So just let me admit, well, we've got more coming in. Cool. One sec, I'm just quickly, where have you gone? Sorry, 1 second, I'm just going to stop sharing the screen for a second. Yes, there you are, sorry. I literally just shared my screen and then couldn't see you anymore. Okay, so. There you are. Excellent. I turned the video panel off. So we're going to get going. Hopefully you can all see my screen, and we'll go from there. So how to use guide tracks to learn a song. Now, can you all still hear me? Oh, more people in the waiting room. Admit. Someone sent me a message in chat. Okay, cool. Apologies, if you can still hear me, that's great. Oh no, you are still there. That's fine. Sorry, I've just unshared screen. I shared screen and then the entirety of the screen of you looked like you'd all frozen. So as long as I know you're still there, I will share screen and we'll begin from there. Apologies for the typo on the first slide. Excellent. So, score and tracks. So sometimes using a score, in my opinion, can get in the way of really learning a song. Okay, as a music reader, I still prefer to use the tracks and not the score. This might take longer in some kind of way, but it sticks better once it's in there. And for me, it's all about quality, not quantity. However, not everyone is the same. So there is a disclaimer there that it's not necessarily that everyone will agree with me on this, but it's just how I find is a useful way of using the tracks. Now, there are the tracks. There were some extra ones created this morning that I did mainly for the youth sessions. And that's them, and they are there. 1 second. Sorry, I've still got people coming in. Apologies. It keeps on jumping in front of my screen. So we've got more in. Now, if we look here, you will be found all parts. I've named that specifically because obviously that's at the top, and that's obviously the one that you'll be using quite a lot. Okay, there are obviously as well your own specific voice parts: alto 1, alto 2, bass, soprano 1, 2, and tenor. All right. There are others which we will go through later and what potentially they might be used for. And I'll talk about them later. For example, the extra width one and some of these other ones that have been created this morning. So we'll go through. But at the moment, a lot of this is how to use your specific voice part as well as the all parts. Okay? Now, why do we need so many tracks? But they all can give us something different. They all can be used in a different way. And it doesn't just mean that if you're an alto one, you will only ever listen to your alto one and the all parts. There's always a reason to be listening to other parts, even if you're singing alto one. And we'll talk about that. What do we do with them? Okay, what do we do with them? What one should you listen to? How should you listen to them? And what should you try not to do? For me, what not to do is always really, really important. Okay, what you shouldn't do is always important. 1 second. Yes, that's all fine. Oh, yeah, there's another person in the waiting room. Okay, so if I just quickly continue. Quality, not quantity. Now, I find it's not how much you listen to the tracks, it's how you listen to them. I was talking, when I started thinking about this session, to some of the music team, and I said that, for example, if you spend the right amount of time, you can get more from doing the right thing for about 15 minutes than if you try and learn the tracks in the wrong way for 2 or 3 hours. And when I say the wrong way, I mean having the tracks on in the background, having them on in the car as you're doing, or having them on as just like constantly on repeat as you're doing things. I think you can, if you're not focusing solely on listening to them, you will not be picking up all the parts. And if anything, you're going to be learning it wrong because you won't be focusing on it, and therefore your brain will be listening only at certain times, and it will stick together bits of that song in the wrong order. You'll forget which chorus comes when. You'll forget slightly if there's word differences. You'll actually learn in some mistakes. And again, the disclaimer again, this is my experience plus some information from others. So this is the way I like to learn a song, especially if it's tricky or it's long. Stage 1, feel the song. Okay, and I'll explain what that is. Listen to the all parts track, okay, with your eyes open. That means at some point you're going to have to listen with your eyes closed. Listen to the all parts track and only be listening to the music. I know sometimes it feels like we have to be multitasking because there's so much to do, but listen to your all parts track when that's the only thing that you're doing. You've got nothing else to do, there's nothing else going on, that's the only thing you're doing. Do not sing at all. Okay, now for some of you, you'll already be at the stage where you've kind of possibly done the wrong thing, but that's okay. We can still go through this. Maybe start at this stage, and it's difficult not to sing. We are singers. We want to sing along, but to sing along when you don't quite know what it is doing means that your brain is just saying, "Cool, that's how it goes every time." You learn something wrong, it'll take forever to get rid of that. So you listen to the all parts track with your eyes open. You do not sing at all. You listen to the whole song from the beginning to the end, and you just, with your eyes open, and you just kind of let it soak in a little bit. And then you want to listen to the all part track with your eyes closed. Okay, when you take away one sense, another sense is kind of increased, and there's extra there. Feel the ebb and flow of the song. Where does it go? Where's the rise and fall? How do you feel? What do you see and think? So when I say what do you see, that when you listen to that, some of you will visualize things. You will see things. You may see colors with your eyes closed. You may see nothing, and that's not a problem. But when you shut your eyes and you listen to a piece of music, you may well be getting some kind of images. Okay, therefore you can use those images when you're learning that song, because that's the thing you see at that section of the song. If you can tie together feelings and visualizations with the song, that sticks a lot better. Okay, so that's stage 1. You haven't sung at all. In fact, you've listened to the song an entirety of at least twice, if not more, and you have not sung a note. Okay, stage 2. You then listen to your part with your eyes open. So this is just like an initial getting to know you of your part. Has to start with the all parts, because you have to get where the whole song goes. You have to get what the whole song is about. You have to kind of hear the whole thing before you then start being technical on your own part. Do not sing at all. Again, this is where you're thinking, well, when the bloody hell are we going to sing? But do not sing at all. Okay? you listen to your part with your eyes closed. So your eyes open, listening to where it generally goes, kind of okay. You haven't got your score at this point, by the way. So you don't look at your score at this point. You can use your score at some point, but not during this. Don't use your score, because you will then start getting your brain the fact that you need to look at that score. You will get kind of connected to that score, and you won't be able to put it down. So you listen to your voice part track. Where are your important parts in the song? So when you've closed your eyes, you've already listened to the all parts a few times with your eyes closed and eyes open, and you've then gone, okay, where's the bits in the song where actually you feel are the special moments that your voice part gives you goosebumps? Those will be the parts that you will remember quicker, but also you want to know that where they are in the song, because they're the bits where you're going to need to give that additional performance, and where you're going to possibly also emotionally be more likely to become emotional, and that might affect your voice. That might mean that's the bits where for some of you might get a bit teary, you might get a bit overly emotional, and that's great. But it's important to know that those bits are coming up so that you get through the whole song singing, as opposed to get halfway through and then you end up as being a bit of a puddle on the floor. Do not sing at all. So at this point, you've not sung anything. You've listened to the all parts track a couple of times, eyes open and then eyes closed. Eyes open for a slightly more kind of technical listen, eyes closed to feel that and to begin to kind of inherently feel that in yourself of where it's going. You've then listened to your voice part track in exactly the same way, with your eyes open and then your eyes closed, and you're really, really focusing everything you've got on what the voice part does, where it goes. Now, stage 3. Back to the beginning, straight back to the all parts track. Do not sing yet. Now at this point you are thinking, I haven't sung. I've listened to this song loads of times and I haven't sung. Trust me, it's so much better when you don't start singing too early. You don't start singing and learning things and inherently learning things in wrong. Listen to your voice part track. Do not sing. So then you basically go into, and again, you can decide to do eyes open, eyes closed. That's just to make sure that you're checking that you know what's going on. So you've listened to the track maybe 6 or 7 or 8 times by this point, and you haven't sung a word. This should have taken to you about 60 minutes. So if you give intensive kind of time, and I know you might be thinking, I haven't got 60 minutes free in my entire day, but you could, because you haven't sung, you can do this in bed, you can do it you can do it at any point in the day, because it doesn't mean you don't need to be in a place where you're not singing. So you can do this at any point. You've taken 60 minutes, okay? About 60 minutes. If it took you longer, that's fine, but that's not a huge amount of time, but it was quality. It wasn't quantity, it was quality to really just listen and get to what the song is doing and where it's going. Now, this bit is where, just I'm hiding my meeting controls, this bit is where you split the song. Choose a section of the song. Now, for you, it may be we've split this song up into 3 sections for all parts. It may be you choose part 1, part 2, or part 3. You can subdivide it down more, so you could just maybe take 15-20 seconds of the song. It's up to you to kind of have a look and think, okay, that's the kind of sensible section of this song, and you'll know whether it's a verse or it's a specific chorus or it's a verse and a chorus. You can choose a section of the song. Listen to your voice part track, and this is where you start to sing. Do not look at the score. Sing the notes to a vowel sound. Okay, so you're not singing words at this point. Okay, if you sing the notes to a vowel sound, you can change that vowel, but do not try to sing the words. And you may have found this already. As soon as you try and start to sing a song, and this is especially when you're trying not to look at a score, you'll start getting some words wrong, and you'll fluff the words, and it'll affect the rhythm, it affects the tuning, you'll fluff the words, but if you just carry on and keep on making those little errors, those little fluffs of words, well, so you sing if instead of when, or you kind of, slightly get something wrong, you will start learning those. They will start to be the thing you do every single time, and you'll get that mental block in a song. It's actually better to initially split the notes and words apart. So this is learning the notes of the song, and you add in the feeling with those vowels. That's why I say you can change the vowels. Once you're doing this, it may be that you could actually move the vowels kind of where the words go, but don't try and change the vowel too much. It's about feeling the notes, moving your notes up and down, and actually you've got the guide track singing the words, but all you're doing is the notes to try and learn in your voice where those notes go, and again identifying, oh, where are the high bits, where are those bits, where's that bit where I'm going to get my goosebumps. You're always using that prior learning. So that's stage 4. Stage, whoops, daisy, I copied that. Stage 5, go back to the all parts track. Sing your vowel part, no words. So that is, can you sing your vowels of your notes over the all parts track? Okay, again, you should be able to. If you, at this point, I would still say try not to use your score. This is where sometimes you'll be like, I don't know it yet. No, you don't know it yet. But actually, if you do this a couple of times, once you do, you will know it forever. Okay, once you learn songs this way, they won't go out of your brain. Okay, and actually, if as soon as you use a score, when you put that score face down, you will forget certain parts of the song because you are requiring the score. And anytime you look at the score, you are not emotionally as engaged in the song, and it won't sound as good, and it won't be as emotionally successful. Stage 6. Add the emotion, not just the words. So this is where we do add the words, but I don't like saying add the words in now. You're adding the emotion, okay? Listen to your voice part track. Sing the emotion of the section, okay? This does mean singing the words, but they just convey the emotion. That's all the words do, okay? You could probably make someone feel emotional with your part by just singing the notes. If we took out the entirety of the words of this song, You Will Be Found, we would still have lots of chords, and they would be, and therefore chords of music, even without the words, will have an emotional feeling. Yeah, when you listen to instrumental music can make you cry because it still sounds emotional. It has that kind of context. I listen to Mozart Piano Concerto No. 3, second movement, the Adagio, which I listen to it and it's just absolutely beautiful. There's no words, but I can feel the emotion there. So you should be able to make people feel emotion just with a vowel sound. That means when you add the words back in, that just adds in and makes that emotion clear and clarity, gives clarity to the listener. So again, that's what you want to do. Add in the emotion, not just the words. Stage 7, and we're going to go through this with a little section of the song in a little bit. Back to the beginning. Listen to your all parts track. Sing your parts, words, and emotion. Okay, so you've gone through, and it's a gradual process, and it keeps on meaning going back to the beginning, going back to the all parts track, and not trying to just go straight into singing your notes, your words, adding in the emotion, kind of looking at your score, trying to watch the guide track, trying to hear that. And if you try and do too much at once, you'll learn it just wrong. Do not use the score or written down words. Feel it. Okay, so you need to feel it. You need to be feeling this as soon as this is not the point to then pick up your score to then check what you're doing, because at that point you will then get attached to your score again and you will not be able to put it down. Now, next steps, because I want to go through this in a section of the song. Next steps is follow the same process for the other sections of the song. Okay? Spend 2 or 3 times longer listening to the tracks than you do singing the tracks, especially initially, until you really know it. Then you make the notes, but without words. Only add the words once you feel and know them. So once you've learnt it, if you learn it wrong, it's really hard to fix. So kind of don't start adding in words until you know the notes, until you can sing those vowel parts and you know where your notes are going, you know where your part's going. You can move those vowels, you can have the vowel shapes of those words, but as soon as you try to add both things at once, you will make errors. Once you learn it wrong, and probably I can't see you all because my video screen's disappeared again, but once you learn it wrong, it is just unbelievably difficult to get rid of that incorrect learning. Okay? Now, when we get to the end part here, because I'm going to kind of go through this and kind of show you this a bit, so I'm just getting rid of that. Then you get back to all these. So all you've used at the moment is your voice part and the all parts. All right? So that's all you've used at this point. All these other tracks, you might think, well, why do I need them? Well, this is when you think that you know your part. When you think that, when you can basically kind of sing your part to the all parts, when you can hear your part and you can sing it to your own voice part. The other tracks are there because it gives you, and again, if we were all in a big chorus, sometimes you might have a bass standing right behind you. You might be singing like an alto part, but you might have a bass singing right behind you, and you're perfectly fine when you're at home singing the part, but then as soon as that person sings behind you, they upset your apple cart. Suddenly you can't sing what you were supposed to be singing, and you just get kind of pulled towards their notes. Okay, that's because, well, it's partly because you might be paying attention to them or they've got a loud voice. And that might not be 100% solvable, but you can practice putting yourself under that challenge. So again, you want to be doing some practicing with these other parts. So if you are an alto 1, for example, if you listen to alto 1 right and alto 2 left, that's when you can be actually learning, and that means the alto 1 part is through the right ear and alto 2 is through the left ear. So at that point you can be singing your part, and if you want to challenge yourself, take off the ear which has your part on it and see if you can sing over the top of that. If you put it back on again, you've always got it there to help and support you, but you can be identifying where those things are difficult and you can be working through those difficult parts. The same with the other parts, they're soprano right, alto left. So these other ones you might have worked out, well, okay, I'm fine singing with my altos, but the sopranos put me off at some point in this song. As soon as I hear the all parts, I get pulled towards the tune, or I get pulled towards what another part is doing. These additional guide tracks are there so you can practice that. So this is practice. It needs practice. You can't just do it. It's not like you suddenly just get it. So all soprano right, all the soprano parts are through the right ear, all the altos are through the left. There's even one which has all the parts, but they're very specifically placed. Sopranos all through the right, the altos are in the middle, tenors and basses to the left, so that then you can actually be listening. And you can listen almost three-dimensionally, especially if you've got headphones on. I listen generally with headphones on because it really gives me a real sense of placement. And I won't go through it now, but actually I have I can feel and hear and sense where these notes are going in the parts, and I can actually place them based upon my left and my right. So again, you can actually think, and I always remember some words that they feel like they're going through the right-hand side top of my head, or it's, oh, that's about my ear length. That's my ear. It's my right ear. That's where that note is. So high notes are up the top of my head, low notes are down the bottom of my chin, and you can almost have, I can actually be visualizing when I'm listening to it on headphones and shutting my eyes where those notes are going, and I can almost kind of have that internal score, and I feel it a lot better than when I'm just reading the score. Okay? Always go back to the beginning, all parts. So keep on traveling back to the all parts, because that's what that's what the audience will eventually hear. And this is when you're in choruses, not just in a virtual choir sense. This is when you learn it. You want to make sure you're selling the all parts, so you don't just want to listen to your own part over and over again, because then you are always going to get upset as soon as anything else is put into the mix. Sing the hard bits more. Yeah, sing the hard bits more. I know it's fun to focus on the bits that you can smash out and that when you've got the tune, but if you know that you always get one part wrong, go through that part specifically. Do a smaller section, okay? Do that little section, that 10-15 second section, listen through to it, close your eyes and listen to it, do the vowel sounds of it until you really, especially there's twiddly bits in this song, and that you want to do that with the twiddly bits, with just the vowel shapes, and then you add the words. And again, repeat it, repeat it, repeat it, repeat it. And you'll hate it, but you'll get it right. But then you won't hate it because you'll do it right, and then you'll feel it, and it will become natural for you to do that, and it will become a bit like muscle memory. And don't move on. And again, it's not 100% here. Don't move on until you can't get it wrong. So it's not like, oh, I did it right once, I'm going to move on to the next section of the song. Do it so that absolutely the vast majority of the time you are not making mistakes, okay? Because if you make those mistakes and you move on, your brain will just say, yep, that was correct, and you will always make that mistake, Okay, and that means that you get an emotional disconnect, because as soon as you get to that point in the song, you'll know that you're making a mistake because you'll hear the track and you'll know you're making that mistake. In a real chorus, you'll know because you hit that note and the person next to you singing the same part is not singing the same as you. And that means that you then end up knowing you've made a mistake. You then lose your place emotionally in the song, and that has a small impact on the whole of the song. If it's live in chorus or in quartet, the same thing applies. It's like, even if one person loses it slightly, that has an effect on the people around them, because other people will hear that wrong word or that wrong note. They won't hate you for it, they won't judge you for it, but it will slightly affect their performance as well. So this is this is also for when we are in backing choruses and stuff like that in real life. Now I'm just gonna quickly stop sharing. I'm just going to go through this. Oh, you're back again. I literally could not see you for the last 15 minutes. I couldn't see at all. Yes, this is being recorded, by the way. So I'm just going to take you through a part of the song. I'm going to try and go to a part of the song that is near the back end of the song, hoping that you haven't got that far yet with You Will Be Found. Okay? So I'm going to take you through a bit, and I'm not going to do much, but I'm going to take through just a little section. And again, I'd like you to kind of go with me on this. If you've got a score, do not look at it. You're banned. If I see any of you looking down and thinking, he'll never know. Oh, I will. So honestly, please don't look at the score. By the way, it doesn't mean you can't look at the score. It doesn't mean you should burn it in some kind of, sacrificial burning. There's a use for a score, but I often like looking at a score when I'm not singing. So I often like looking at the score when, after I've sung something, if I did make a mistake, I can check on that if I want to. Some of us might like the visual aspect of knowing where the dots and stuff go. That is still useful, but this is how you use the tracks. And I find that for me, tracks are so much quicker, because once it's in my brain, once I've learned it orally, it never goes anywhere. I still, to this day, have got songs that I've learned and I've never even looked at the score. But I still know them. And I haven't sung them in 3, 4, 5 years, and they're tricky songs, but I still know the song because I learnt it. There's a song that the Quartet Lemon Squeezy did called Too Darn Hot, which my chorus Hallmark of Harmony did a few years ago. And I learnt that completely orally. And it's hard. The lead part does loads of harmony, so it's not always the tune, and it's all over the place. It's rangy, it jumps here and there. It's tricky. And I knew as soon as I heard that, because it was tricky, and there was loads of key changes, that I would be better to learn that orally. And it took me a little bit longer, but I went through this process, and I haven't sung that in 3, 4 years, but I still know that song. I still can sing the lead part now on my own without any of the tracks, and I still know where all these notes are in my internal kind of head score. I know, oh, that note's kind of just above my right ear. Oh, that note's right above my head because it's stupidly high. Oh, that's the point where the baritone gets the melody and I have to do silly stuff down here. I still know where that is because I took the time to go through this process. So initially it's a little bit slower, but it means you know it and you don't need to have to look at a score. Okay, so I'm going to pick a back end part of the song. And because there's all voice parts here, I'm going to try and pick a part of the song that is... I'm not going to do all 6 voice parts, but I'm going to kind of go through a middle voice part. And if you don't know this, we'll kind of go through and we'll do what we can. Okay, so I'm just going to take you through how I would do this. And I may well do a little bit of kind of the vowel singing that I was talking about. And we'll just go through that process. I'll do a shortened version of this and just see how we do. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly get onto my guide track. So I'm going to start with the all parts guide track. Okay, and at the moment I would like you to listen to this with your eyes open. So we're going to go through our process, slightly shorten it, but we're going to listen with our eyes open. I'm not going to share my screen, but I will share my sound so I can look at you and check that you're not closing your eyes or staring down at a score. That would be cheating. So I'm just going to play the all parts guide track at a certain point in this song. 1 second. 1 sec. Here we go. If you only love, it will be morning is red. You all hear something? Can you hear that slightly? Excellent. I'm going to turn the volume up. It's the Out of the Shadows section. So all we do first is we're going to listen to the all parts with our eyes open, just kind of hear where the song goes in this short section, and then we'll close our eyes and then we'll go through the procedure that I said work. And we'll have to kind of see. And again, you need to spend a bit of time with this, but just to kind of talk through it, and we'll see what we can do. Here we go. You will be fine. So that's the section for me. Okay, so I've listened to that section once with my eyes open. What I'd like you to do now is listen with your eyes closed. Okay, now if you haven't got headphones on, that's not the end of the world. But if you have got some headphones, when you do this yourself where you are, I do find it's better to be able to do the placement in your head if you have headphones on, because you get a really clear sense of right and left and the guide tracks, especially the extra width. When I listen to the all parts, I listen to the extra width. So the one that are called in the guide track folder extra, I think it's called it's called extra width. That means that the parts, there's very little in the middle. The parts are very, very panned to the right and to the left. So it's easier to do that kind of left and right moving up and down of the parts in your brain. I can't explain it any better than that. But anytime something's in the middle, I struggle sometimes to work out where the notes are if it's in the middle of the soundstage, because it feels like the notes are in the front of my forehead, whereas actually I quite like them to the right hand side or the left hand side, because it feels like they're slightly away from me. I know that sounds really odd, but you have to go with it, and hopefully you'll see what I mean. So let's just have a listen to that section again with our eyes closed, please. So have a little close of your eyes and just follow that section of where it goes overall. Oh, you will be fine. You will be fine. Out of the shadows, morning is breaking, and all is new. All is new. Fading out the energy. Suddenly I see that all is new. All is new. Okay, I'm going to ask a question. Did you have more of an emotional connection with the song when you shut your eyes? I didn't get goosebumps the first time I listened to it. The second time, when I shut my eyes, I 100% got more goosebumps, and I just did. And you may not, but again, I did. I listened to it, and I got one point where I got a little shiver down my back just before the soprano one part went up really high. It was as it built out and it kind of extended, I got the feeling. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to choose a lower voice part. Again, there's a reason for this in this one, so don't worry, but I'm just going to go through. The lower voice part, actually the bass voice part, is the one I'm going to choose here. Now obviously you don't have to sing bass, but at this point the tune is really big and bombastic and it's in your face, and it's therefore quite easy to learn the tune. It's rangy, it's like punching you in the face. The bass part does not have the same movement, but it has to have the same emotion, and actually that's why I'm going to choose the bass part here. Okay, so don't worry if you're not a bass, just going to take you through the bass part. So the second stage of this is listen to your voice part with your eyes open, listening to that general section there. So I'm just going to quickly add in the bass part. Exactly, and listen to the same point with our eyes open. So it's just downloading. So I did a clear of my OneDrive the other day and undownloaded everything and left it on the cloud. And now I have it. Every time I open a file, it has to re-download it from the internet. So my computer is running short of hard drive space. Sorry, it's just downloading. Almost there. Honestly, it's almost there. 90%. 100%. Excellent. So let's have a listen to the bass part with our eyes open. It's through the left ear, by the way. So it's through the left ear, this one. Now, initially, you might think that's cheating. You've chosen a part that has 2 notes. Yeah? Agreed? You're thinking that's not difficult. It's got 2 notes. You just cheated. You chose a part where you know the bass part doesn't do anything. However, there's not 2 notes. There is really not 2 notes. The reason there's not 2 notes is all the other notes are changing on top of it, and loads of those notes you need to do different things with. So if you are a bass, if you only sing 1 note to this, you are missing out on this entire section. So I'd like you to listen now to the bass part again, and I would like you to shut your eyes, and also if you can still hear the other harmonies a little bit through your right ear, and I want you to listen to the bits where the bass part feels different, because there are a couple of points in here where the bass part, it's singing the same note, but it feels like it's singing a different note because of what the other parts are doing. And when I say what are the special moments, that's exactly what I mean. Even on the same note, the bass parts have special moments in this that you want to be aware of. So shut your eyes, let's have a listen to this section. If you only love me right, out of the shadow, the morning is breaking and all is new, all is new. It's filling up the empty, and suddenly I see that all is new, all is new. Okay, now I'm going to ask a question. Which bit did, and there's 2 parts in that, where the bass part feels special. You may well not feel it. You may well not have heard that. Does anyone like to put their hand up and say which word do they think the bass part suddenly felt like it was doing something that was like it felt a bit more special, considering it's the same note? Anyone?
Oh, is new.
Ah, yeah. The second, each time, the second, all is new. So it goes, all is new, all is new. That second one is goosebump moment, and it's the basses. There's chord reasons why that's the case, but the basses is what makes that give it goosebumps. It's the bass part. It is the high parts, but the bass part sticking on that same note, they need to really know that that's a special moment, and they need to be doing. I won't go technical with it because we're talking about feeling, not technical stuff. But so we would listen to that, and as a bass, it would be very wrong to think I've got 1 note. I don't need to worry. I've got 1 note there. I can just literally just zone out until I get to a good bit. When you listen to this way, you feel that and you go, oh yeah, I need to feel that note, that little section, second all is new. Now I'm going to put in the all parts track now, and I want you to try and pick out the bass part, and I want you to listen to that, especially that second all is new, okay? And then we haven't sung anything yet, and in a second you're going to try to become a bass and sing a bass part. So we're going to do the all parts. We're just going to, sorry, just went on the wrong thing there. We're going to listen to the all parts and just try and pick out the bass part. Don't sing anything, but try and pick that bass part out, especially in the second all is new each time. Here we go. If you only look out of the shadow, the morning is breaking and all is new, all is new. It's filling up the empty, and suddenly I see that all is new, all is new. Okay. And again, I'm going to slightly skip a section here because some of you were shutting your eyes. If you ever want to go straight to shutting your eyes in a section, that's always fine. Sometimes I find you might want to go straight into this with shut your eyes and listen again. Hopefully you could hear what was happening there. Okay, technically speaking, I think the tenors are only 1 on that second, are 1 note above that all, so it forms a tone clash. But you don't need to bother about that, but it makes you feel a certain way. So basses would know that they have to do something with that note, and it's important. Now, the next thing is you would then do the sounds, so the vowel sounds. Okay, so you go on to the all parts and you basically sing the vowels. Now at this point you might think you're ready to sing the words, but you need to slow yourselves down, because I want you actually to try and sing this bass part, everybody. So if you want to sing an octave up, if you can't hit the notes, that's fine, but I would like you to sing this part to the all parts. Okay, so try and sing the kind of general sound. In fact, we'll use the bass part, but just try and sing the note. You've only got one note to choose from, but I want you to see what you can do and how you can feel that. Does that make sense? If you want to, it's through the left ear, so you can always take your right ear of your headphones off if you've got them on, because then you can hear yourself slightly better. It's sometimes easier to hear yourself when you take one of the headphones off. If you want to do this...
Excuse me, Simon.
Yes,
I'm
Kat.
really sorry to interrupt, but several people have put in the chat that it's in their right ear, and it's in my right ear as well.
Apologies, that's obviously because my computer's set up. It's in your right ear, so take off your left. My apologies. It may well be that my computer's set up that it's flipped the stereo signal. So apologies on that. Thank you for letting me know, Kath. So ignore what I just said. It's through your right ear, which I thought was weird because in the UK, I put it through right ear because that's the side of the car we drive on. And I shouldn't do that because I just told you don't listen to the song in the car, but I've then done tracks so you can use them in the car. Maybe I'll have to redo that. So let's do the bass part. Listen through your right ear and sing the vowel sounds. And again, feel that second all is new part. Here we go then. Let's sing the vowel sound and sing the note. Now, you probably heard slightly that I was gradually changing my vowel. I was holding on a long note. I wasn't going, because that's silly, yeah? I was holding on a note, but it meant that I was feeling that ebb and flow, and I was moving that note down and just slightly changing my vowel to suit that. Now, let's just try that once more, because the first time you do this, you'll feel like an idiot, okay? Because you'll be like, I'm just making a random sound, and it doesn't make any sense. But try for me. Do that. If you want to do it an octave up, that is absolutely fine. So let's do that once more. I'll sing, but I'll sing slightly back here so you don't hear me too much. Here we go. Sing along. Just the vowel sound. Now, could you kind of feel where that went? Just, you see what I mean? It's like, yeah. This time, and I'm going to skip a couple of sections. Normally, you go back to the all parts track. What I'd like you to do now is, now you can add the words in. It's the first time we should have sung any words. So at this point, you may have spent like an hour, like generally. This time, I'd like you to sing the bass part with the words, but all the feeling, all the movement, especially that second all is new, all is new. And again, enjoy yourselves. If you might want to shut your eyes when you do this, okay? We'll do it twice, one with the bass track, one with all tracks. Here we go. Let's do it. When you're broken on the ground, you will be found. So let the sun give you a bit longer in. Here we go. You ready? Don't sing till this point. Here we go. Okay, final stage of this, and again, I picked a certain part of this song because actually basses I think could be lazy on this section if they weren't careful. Last thing, all parts track. So when you want to check you know it, fit your part in the all parts track where everything, again, for me, the extra width version, fit that in and then see how it feels. And if you don't get the goosebumps when you listened to it, then you don't yet feel it and you don't yet know it. Do you know what I mean? And be honest with yourself on that. This is an emotional song which gives the feels. It gives you the feels. It gives you the goosebumps. And that's not my voice. That's not even the arrangement. That's the original song and the emotion behind it. Okay? Granted, if I'd sung really out of tune, you might not have got the feels. But pitch correction is here for a reason. So let's listen to the all parts track. Sing the bass part. And I know some of you are not basses. Sing the bass part. Feel it. If you want to put both headphones in or one on and one off, it's up to you. But I'd like you to give a real good go of this section to see if that short period of time we kind of know this bit of the bass part. Here we go. And how it fits with everything else. Here we go. Let the sun come streaming in. If you only look around, you will be found. Cool. So, just going to stop sharing that. Now, that is just, again, it's a short section. I know, what I wanted to do was pick a part where there's not too many notes that wouldn't take too long. Because obviously, if you had a section that had more notes, it would take longer to have done this demonstration. That is how I learn. That is exactly how I use guide tracks, is not to have it in the background on repeat and on repeat in the background as I'm pottering along, like making tea or doing some ironing or, you know, or driving to or from work and whatever. For me, as soon as you do that, you only end up learning bits. You either learn the bits that are louder, the bits that are, louder, or the bits that are kind of what I mean better, but you know, that are where you have the tune or you have the interesting bit, and then all the other bits, the little grey areas, they always stay grey. And the problem is, as soon as you hit them, you lose confidence and focus on each section and do not move on until you're like, I feel that. And even a simple bit of the bass part there, not every note is equal. There's notes where there's special moments. There's when the basses can do something really important. And I was feeling that. And I actually haven't learnt this song. I sang this song, but I haven't specifically gone through and learnt the bass part. It sounds weird. You think, well, how did you not learn it? You sang the bloomin' guide tracks. But I did that honestly to the score, and I did the guide tracks in a technical way with a little bit of emotion. If I was going to sing this and learn it, I would go through my own guide tracks, learning what I did properly, because I can't remember what I did in some cases. People are saying, oh, did you mean to do this on the guide tracks? I'm like, I have no recollection what I did in the guide tracks. I just sang. So if I was going to go through this, I would spend the time learning it in exactly this method. It might be slightly time consuming, but once you know it, you know it. And actually, in the overall, it takes less time because you don't learn it wrong. You don't kind of know it and then have to unlearn. And I find unlearning is really difficult. I'm just looking at some questions. Assuming you're seeing the vowel of the actual words, so different vowels you go along. Is that correct? Yes, Jane. Generally, it is there. I wouldn't try to actively change my vowel too much, but changing the vowel to fit the word also gets that kind of muscle memory, because actually then all we need to do is add the consonants into the word, and you don't have to then do much work. And also sometimes the placement of the vowel kind of makes the word either easier or more difficult to sing, and that therefore also makes a difference. So yeah, try and generally change the vowel sound that fits the words, but don't be too militaristic with it. Yeah, so for that example, Out of the Shadows, I didn't necessarily go, I didn't do too much. It was a general kind of blend. It's just very, very kind of impressionistic painting version of the words, as opposed to every single thing. Yeah. Does that make sense? Cool. Is there any questions? Any questions, folks? I'm going between the two screens, and honestly, what I will say is, try that. Honestly, try like the first section that you're singing, or try a section that you're struggling with. And when I say a section, 20, 30 seconds, not huge bits of the time. I mean, it's a 6-minute song. So you could do maybe a 30-second section, go through the procedure, and I'll share the PowerPoint presentation on the members page, and I'll probably put a link to it, I think, or something as a file in the description of I'll put this video on YouTube, and I'll put it in the description box of the YouTube as well, and I'll share the PowerPoint. So go through that for one section that you find tricky, and then see if it works. And honestly, if you do it, I find it works. And I didn't come up with this. I got told it as a way of learning tracks, and I've modified it to my own kind of experience, and it makes a difference. It takes a while. The most difficult thing is not singing. As a singer, I find it really hard not to just want to sing along. Okay? And yeah,
Excuse me.
Yes. Kath, sorry, I didn't see you.
You asked about questions, and I sort of had my hand up.
Sorry, I didn't see you. Yes, what's your question?
That's fine. If you are at a stage, which I am, where I know it fairly well, and I do pick things up quite quickly. I'm fortunate; it's in my genes, I think. But I sort of know it quite well. But would you still recommend going back through this whole process?
Yes. Yeah,
okay.
Because only, and it may be that you can miss out some of the eyes open, eyes closed. If you're ever going to miss out a bit, it will be the eyes open section. I'd always go with the eyes closed with a pair of headphones on, and actually turn it to vowels, because you will identify, using this method, you will identify the bits that you don't yet know as well, and that therefore you can then work on them, and you always want to make those bits the focus of your work. So yeah, I still think it works.
That's great, because we don't use music in the choir that I sing in. It's a world music type choir, so it is all done by either teach tracks or just literally calling and echoing the teacher. So although I do read music, I'm not used to scores, so I don't use scores. I'm not hung up on the scores at all. So I'm used to guide tracks, but it's been very, very helpful what you've gone through.
Yeah. Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you say you're in a choir that doesn't use scores. My community choir, even though I used to provide them with scores, I run a community choir here in Leicester, and actually they have got, without really knowing it, used to working on things orally. So they will literally learn from guide tracks, and quite a lot of the songs don't have scores. They create their own like little graphic scores sometimes, but actually the experience they get and the how good they are now at learning harmony especially is because they're used to listening and learning, and they're used to feeling it, and they've done it for like the last 6-7 years. Mainly it's because I'm too lazy to do scores, but I've come up with a way of telling them that it's for their own benefit, which is why I tell them that it's about feeling the song, as opposed to I don't do scores very well. But it does really work.
Open access, you can't have scores really, can you, if it's an open access choir, because some people don't read music.
No, exactly. And
I sing with Amika with Della. In Leicester.
Yes.
So very different.
The thing with scores is that once we get used to them, they become a crutch for us. We can't put them down. And again, with barbershoppers, we're very used to being on the risers, not with scores, but it's still difficult to put them down. It's still difficult to not want to look at that score and not have it on the riser next to you, and then after the song, pick it up at that section and just check what you were doing. And that, again, it just breeds in that slight lack of confidence. Any other questions, folks? Any other questions? I'm keeping an eye out for any hands up, just in case. Marie Gertcher, US.
Hi. I have a question. Now, I'm an instrumentalist, so I have to admit it's going to be hard to give up my score.
Yeah.
But one of the problems I was having just going through this is I could not understand the words, all of them, just listening to it. Like I could not actually literally understand every word. So I assume it's okay to go back to the score to like check the words to make sure they're correct.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
I would say that's if you're not quite sure what the word is and you want to make sure you're not learning it, like when you listen to a song on the radio. We've all done this. We've listened to songs when we were younger and we could swear blind that the words were one thing, and you then start singing the entirely wrong word. Like there was a Jimi Hendrix song that it was like, what is it? There's a line where the line is actually "Excuse me while I kiss the sky," but actually loads of people thought that he was saying "Excuse me while I kiss this guy," and therefore obviously that gave a very different emotional context to the song, because some people thought that Jimi Hendrix was talking about kissing a bloke, which again at that point of view in time in history was possibly more.
Purple Haze. Purple Haze.
Haze, that one. Yeah, excuse me while I kiss the sky. But he doesn't sing it with particularly great diction, and people thought, excuse me while I kiss this guy. You know, it makes the song slightly different. So, yeah, you can go back and look at the words, but when you sing, just make sure you've not got them there with you, and make sure once you know what those words are, sing through them, feel them, and then you should be fine. Is that okay, Marie?
Yep. Thank you.
Good stuff. Dudley, you've got your hand up, mate. You're on mute, Dudley. Well, you need to turn your mic on.
Yeah, for people that don't read music, I don't read music either.
Yeah.
And I use the teach tracks for everything I learn, no matter what it is. But the great thing with the teach track is that not only do you get the notes, you get the interpretation, you get the performance, you get the feeling of the song as well, because that is built into the teach tracks, which is not necessarily built into a music score.
No.
You have to develop that yourself.
That's the reason, yeah. I mean, that's one of the reasons why for Dover and for You've Got a Friend in Me and for You'll Be Found, that's why I re-recorded all the tracks. Yeah. So for all of them, for You'll Be Found, the first version that I put out there, I re-recorded the tracks so I could tell the story. Because for me, guide tracks, some of the guide tracks you all have listened to in your choruses, they may well be the correct notes, but there is probably the sum total of zero emotion in the song. Some of them are robotic versions of someone's voice that's been overpitch corrected, and it's very difficult to listen to it and get much from it. You may still be, you may have some songs where it's that kind of actual physically synthetic robotic voice, you know, like where actually there's a computer program back in the day that sang the notes, and like the speech synthesis version, that's really hard to learn them. So for me, the guide tracks are as much an emotional and a musical part of the learning experience as just the notes and words. So I'm fortunate, I suppose, the fact that I do my learning tracks and I do the guide tracks myself, and not all choruses have that, but at least for collective ones, you've got kind of the emotion that I want in the song, and you've got the kind of dynamic plan, and you've got that, which is why I redid the tracks. I hate redoing tracks, but the other ones weren't good enough, and they wouldn't have given you the same emotional opinion of the song if I didn't do that. Any other questions? I'm scrolling between the screens to just make sure I don't miss anyone, but I would just say really try it. Try it out for a 45-second section of the song. See if then you can do that section quicker than your normal way of learning. And like I said, for some of you it may not work, but definitely try it, because it works for me, and I'm a strong music reader. I can sight read relatively well, but I still would choose to spend longer on my tracks learning it this way, because it means I can get into feeling the music a lot quicker, and I make a lot less mistakes down the road. Anything. I'm just checking, but I think there's no hands, so I think that's good. I will put this PowerPoint presentation up there, folks. Thank you so much. I know this was a lot of me talking, but I did want to go through and just take through that little section. And again, pick a section, give it a go. If you've got any questions, please let me know. Happy to have a discussion on this. And like I said, it's just my opinion, trying to help out. So you can go away and go, bloody doesn't know what he's talking about, that man. He's an idiot. I completely disagree. That's absolutely fine. You could even put that on the members page if you want, and we'll start a lively discussion or debate. But just make sure there's no swear words in it. So thank you so much, folks. Really, really good. Hopefully you're enjoying your weekend. And I'll really, really look forward to seeing you in some sessions. And yeah, have some fun. And I'll put the recording up within the next hour or two. Thank you so much, folks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. I'm going to keep on waving until everyone's gone. 45 people to go. 30 people to go.
Challenge
20
now.
people
Challenge.
to go. 13 people to
That sounds
go.
interesting.
Bye.
Who's going to be last?
Bye.
Probably my wife, I imagine.
Oh yes, I think we better leave it. I think we better
Yes.
leave it that it is
I
the
think
wife.
we're alone now.
The only time I get to talk to him.
Oh, that's not fair. That's my last. It's my last session of the day. I've actually got some time to spend with the family now. So I've done my morning's worth of hard work, and I get to go and spend some time with the fam now. So I think we're gonna go and watch.
There's a lot of talk in the chat about whether you do the ironing or not, Simon. You will have missed that probably.
I didn't see that.
Saw that.
No.
Definitely
Thing
seen
is, very few people in our house do the ironing.
Don't do the
I will do ironing, but if I could avoid it, we try and hang clothes up so we don't need to. But
Same here.
Actually, I will say one thing though, Kath. When I do barbershop contests, like the contest stuff, actually is part of my performance ritual is ironing my shirt on the morning. I don't do it the night before. I always iron it again on the morning of the contest in the hotel where we're at. So it's like, iron the shirt, iron the trousers, get everything kind of ready, and then hang it up.
No clap for that. Come on. No clap.
Yeah, no, I do it. So I do the ironing, but mainly only at contests where it really matters.
On that note, I'm going to look after our children.
Yes, I'll go. Sorry if I was stirring a bit there, really.
No worries. I'll see you soon, lovelies. Thank you so much.
Bye.